Welcome to our first ever virtual college night for seniors. We're excited to be here with you tonight, and we hope you find the information we share helpful as you navigate the college admissions process in these extraordinary times. I'm Kathy Schnackenberg, and I'm one of the counselors here. And with me tonight are
Stacy Lloyd,
Stephanie Irwin,
and I'm Jody McGuff.
All right, so we have a presentation ready for you now. We'll put that up. And you can see on the presentation that we have a QR code. So questions are definitely welcome tonight. And we're waiting for Steph to present the screen. Excellent. So I'll give you a moment to scan the QR code or to enter that website. We have a recorded presentation that we hope will answer many of your questions. So we will take questions at the end. Submit any questions that you need to as you listen to the presentation. If they're not answered by the time we finish the presentation, we'll pop back on at the end and address any unanswered questions at that time. So I'll give you another moment or two to scan the code. All right, so tonight's agenda, what we will cover tonight, we'll talk about career exploration and the multiple sites that are available for you and your student to explore different careers. We'll talk about the college search process. There are multiple websites available for that as well. There are lots of resources out there for both career exploration and college search. We'll talk about standardized testing, SATs and ACTs. We will also talk about the actual process of applying to college, what students are responsible for and how that process works for them, and what counselors are responsible for as well, and how important it is for us to communicate with one another so we can support your student in this process. We'll also talk a little bit about applying for financial aid and the scholarship process. So now we will begin with the recorded presentation. There are multiple sites available for career and college exploration by students. And so let's review some of them. College Board's Big Future has a great career and college exploration platform. You Visit College Search is an opportunity for students, if they know the colleges they're interested in, they can visit this site, type in the name of the college, and take a virtual tour of that college. So that's a fun tool to play around with. SUNY has a terrific college search engine for students who know they want to attend a SUNY college, one of the 64 college campuses. You can limit your search just to SUNY colleges. As far as career and college exploration goes, we really encourage students also to take advantage of Naviance. This is a platform that's available in grades, for students in grades 6 through 12. So let's take a look at it. So this is the demonstration version of Naviance, but it gives you an idea of what's available to students. We have, as far as colleges are concerned, you can find your fit with a college search using a variety of filters. You can research different colleges. You can also use Naviance to find scholarship funds. We do not use Naviance to apply to college, so seniors, please do not use this site for college application. We will talk to you about the platforms you need to use for college application in a few minutes. Career exploration is a big part of what Naviance is about. You can explore careers and interests by taking a variety of interest inventories. For example, we really encourage students to complete the career interest profiler. You'll answer a lot of questions about yourself, and that will generate a list of careers that are a good match with your skills, abilities, and interests. And then you can use those careers and find colleges that offer the majors that correspond to those careers. So it's a terrific tool. We encourage students in grades 6 through 12 to use it. So if you have a middle school student at home and you want to begin to search about colleges, or careers and colleges, I definitely encourage you to take advantage of it. And now I'm going to turn it over to Stacy.
So to piggyback what Mrs. Schnackenberg just was talking about with the college exploration, there are definitely a lot of factors to consider when a student is deciding what college they would like to attend. Size and location, for example, are important factors. Some students prefer a smaller faculty to student ratio, while other students may prefer larger university type campuses where they might have more lecture type hall courses. The size also will play a factor in different activities that are on campuses. So it's important for students to really pay attention to the size of the school. They kind of go into small, medium, and large as far as the breakdown of the sizes. Location is another factor to consider. Some students really want to get out to the city. Others are just more comfortable in more suburban areas. So being familiar with the area that the college is in, and if that's a good fit for that student, that's going to be important as well. The distance from home. I know a lot of students really are anxious to get away and they think they want to go out west or down south, but they really need to focus on the important factors of being close to home as well. If a student is struggling to get out to a campus to visit, then that might be an indication that it's a little too far away from home. If you need to get home, you want to be able to have those resources available to you. Some students do have family in other locations, so it does make it a little more convenient. But again, it's just another factor to consider when looking at college campuses. The academic fit, we always stress the importance of having safety schools, match schools, and reach schools. The biggest area of school choices should be within that match range. And basically what that means is students' SAT or ACT scores, GPA ranking, all of those fit within the profile of the college. A reach school might be that campus that a student has had their sights set on since they were young. Maybe their SAT or ACT scores, their GPA is just a little bit lower than what the average profile is for that school. So that would make it more of a reach school. And then safety schools would be, more of the admissions where it's open to all students. Some of our two-year schools, SUNY Adirondack, Hudson Valley, Schenectady, those are considered safety options for our students. And we are lucky to live in an area where we have even just 3 choices right there. You also want to keep an open mind when looking at these schools because financially, all these factors are going to come into play this year, and you want to have an open mind. And I would definitely recommend looking at both public and private schools. And then when all is said and done, you can look at financial aid packages and determine what is going to be the best fit, not only academically, but financially as well for your family. Another factor to consider would be majors that are offered. Obviously, this is quite important when you're looking at campuses. Some students have no idea what they want to do. So you can still do some of those college searches that we just discussed and just leave the major out. But knowing that you can identify some of the other criteria that's important for you will help you decipher what school is the best fit. If you are familiar with what majors you're interested in, obviously there's the tools where you can go in and enter a variety of majors and make sure that the schools you're interested in have what you're looking for. This is why it's very important to not just go where your best friend is going because they may not be going for the same major. So you have to really focus on that. Campus life is another area. If you're someone who's really interested in volunteering or getting involved with clubs and activities or sports, all of these things you need to look at and see what this school has to offer for you. One big campus life activity would be studying abroad. I know some students are really interested in being able to do that, and that would, decipher if that's a good school for you or not. Not all colleges have studying abroad options. And then academic support. Most schools will offer tutoring centers, academic help for students on a first come or individual basis. But if you are a student who has a 504 plan or an IEP, you definitely want to make sure that the campus has an accessibility center where you can go and bring your 504 or your IEP, and they will be able to connect you with services on that campus. And as far as standardized tests, I know this is definitely a really hot topic with COVID and everything that's going on right now. And a lot of schools are becoming test optional. However, we have to be careful with that as well, because we are being told that while schools are test optional, there are still certain programs that are going to require tests. Some specific programs like nursing, for example, or physical therapy, some athletic programs, if you're going to be looking at D1 or D2 schools, they still may be requiring SAT or ACT scores. So definitely something to consider on an individual basis. And if you're applying for scholarships, some scholarships will be looking for those test scores. Again, they may be a little more flexible this year, but it's still something to consider. So also for certain colleges, if you're going into like honors programs or honors colleges, those are usually an indication of requiring SAT or ACT scores. I know the next SAT, again, we will be sending this slideshow out, so you'll be able to click on some of these links. The next SAT that's coming up is on November 7th. You would have to do a late deadline to register for that, but it is still available to register for. And the ACT, the next upcoming date is on December 12th. Students are responsible for registering for these exams. I know we had quite a few students just a few weeks ago take advantage of the school day SAT, which is fantastic. But typically an SAT on a Saturday, the students would have to log on to College Board and register themselves for the exam, or to the actstudent.org site and register for that. And student scores for SATs and ACTs are their own, so they will not show up on a high school transcript. So students will be responsible for submitting those test scores to the college that they're applying to. And you can do that right through College Board and ACT site by requesting your scores sent directly to the campuses. And I will now pass it over to Mrs. Irwin to talk about the application process.
Okay, so now that you've done some of the background work, you're now ready for the application process. And a question that we often get from students is, when should I start applying to schools? And that really varies from college to college. There are four different application terms that we want to make sure that you are aware of. And you really need to figure out what the best timeline is for you. The first option would be early decision. And that is a binding application process where students apply early. Typically, it's like a, could be like a November 1st, November 15th, a December 1st deadline, where students would apply early and hear back early whether or not they were admitted. You can only apply to one school early decision, and it is a binding contract with that school. The only way that you could not attend would be if the financial aid package was not what you were expecting to make it feasible. And then once you do apply early decision, you can apply to other schools regular decision as well. But when you commit to that early decision school, you would withdraw your applications from the other institutions that you applied to. Early action is another option for students, and really you're just applying in their earlier deadline. You can apply to many schools or any school early action. You would be applying that earlier deadline in hopes of hearing back earlier, just for your own planning purposes, really. It's not a binding agreement, and students do have until May 1st to commit to that school. Regular decision is another option. where students would apply, to the college within their specific date and timeline. And then they would receive an admissions decision from that college, and they have until May 1st to commit. And then rolling admission is when you submit your application anytime throughout the year. It could be like a SUNY Adirondack where there's not really a deadline per se. Although for certain programs there may be, like their nursing program, for example. So you really just need to pay attention to what those deadlines are for the school, and just to really keep an eye on those throughout the process, because as we mentioned, each school has a different timeline as far as that goes. So, once you have that, idea as far as a time frame, the next question would be, how do I apply? So there's really 3 different paths you can take as far as applying to schools. Common App is probably the most common, and it's really the most seamless way to manage the application process for students applying to both public schools and private schools. So, over 800 colleges are partnered with Common App. So it's a way to really just complete one application and then submit it to the different schools that you're applying to. That can be both private schools and SUNY schools, because SUNY schools do accept the Common App. So that is, like I said, the most common option typically. If students are only applying to SUNY schools, then we do recommend the SUNY app, which is right on the SUNY website. You can use that to apply to any of the 64 different SUNY schools. It's a little less intensive than the Common App, so that's why if you are just applying to SUNY schools, we do recommend that route. So that is an option as well. And then institutional applications. The reason we mention this is that some schools, like MIT, for example, they have their own application that you need to use directly from their website. So they don't accept the Common Application, for example. So there are schools out there, in that position. So with the institutional applications, other schools also may want to allow students, or may want to give an incentive to students to apply to their school. So they may waive the application fee if you use their application. So that is something to consider as well. Like, for example, we just got notification from SUNY Adirondack that if you use their application on their website, there is no charge for an application fee. So, so just keep that in mind too, because, we typically recommend that students apply, anywhere from, 4 to 6 to 8 colleges. But that can get pretty pricey when you are submitting all those application fees. So, anytime you can get that application waived, that application fee waived, we definitely recommend that you take advantage of that. So it's worth going to the college's website to see if they're having, any of those options for you. And then what do I need to apply? So what do you need to actually complete your application? So, we've listed 4 things here. So one thing is the essay, which is typically the thing that kind of holds students up from actually submitting their application. The rest of the application is really like demographic information. But the essay, is something that students will want to put a lot of thought into, will want to have somebody review it so that it can be revised. I know some of our English teachers do a lesson in their class as far as the college essay goes, to just help students and support them in this process, which is great because they're able to give students feedback, on their assignment. And then, by the time the students are ready to apply to colleges, they have the essay all ready to go. And so it takes a lot of pressure off. So, and even if the student is in a class where the English teacher is not doing that assignment, I would recommend having their English teacher review their essay. And also, Mr. Davies in the library, he's also a great resource. He's been involved in this process for years, and I know he'd be more than happy to review students' work as well. So that's, so that's one piece of the process. Letters of recommendation. When we send you this slideshow, you will be able to click on the letter of recommendation informational sheet link right here. And so that's just really a front and back document that allows students to share information about like activities that they've done in school, outside of school, hobbies, jobs, what their future goals are, any qualities that they think that they have that maybe allow them to stand out amongst other applicants. So what we ask is for students to complete that informational sheet, provide a copy to their counselor just for, so we can use it when we complete a recommendation for a student, but also we use that information when our scholarship committee meets and we're trying to determine, what student's the best fit for different scholarships. So we definitely use that information throughout the year. But then also when a student requests a letter from a teacher, we would hope that they would give them a copy of this informational sheet as well, so the teacher can reflect on the student as a whole, not just them in the classroom. So, so that's really the first step, is filling out that informational sheet. And then what's going to happen is is the student will want to touch base with your counselor, your teacher, coach, employer, whoever you're looking for a recommendation from. You're going to want to touch base with them either by email or in person, just to get, just say, I'm hoping that you'll write a recommendation on my behalf. And then depending on what that recommender responds with, then you can go into your Common App and actually send an electronic invitation directly from Common App, where the teachers will be able to upload their recommendation right into your application. So, so there's definitely a process with that, and we're happy to help students through that when they get to that point. But really, and you can ask for a recommendation from a teacher at any point. So even if your application deadline isn't until like January or February, you still could request a recommendation now, just so it's done, it's on file, it's ready to go for when you are ready to submit your application. So, please keep that in mind. A high school transcript, we do recommend that you request a transcript from Mrs. McNeil or Mrs. Winch, our two secretaries in the guidance office. You can either, they can either email you a copy or you can stop in to get one. And really that transcript, number one, allows you to see where you stand right now as far as like what your GPA is, what your Regents exam scores are, what rank you are in the class. So it allows you to see where you stand as while you're searching for schools. But then it also helps you to complete the Common App, because it'll ask you certain questions like what classes are you taking your senior year, or what's your class rank. It'll ask you to self-report something. So that high school transcript really assists you with that. And then finally, SAT and ACT scores, as Mrs. Lloyd mentioned, students must request these to be sent directly from College Board and ACT. When they're sent directly from those two companies, they are considered official score reports. Okay, whereas like if we send them from our office, we could always make an error on the transcript, or something could happen where we're reporting information that isn't correct. So that is why colleges really want those to come directly from College Board and ACT, so that they're official score reports. Okay, I'm now going to turn it over to Mrs. McGuff to continue talking about the college application process.
Okay, so we've covered the student portion of filling out the application and the ins and outs of what is required. So what is the next step? And you're probably asking yourself, when do the counselors come into play here? So the hard part is done. The student has submitted their application. So our advice to you is for you and your student to first just take a breath, because the hard part is over, okay? The next step is definitely crucial and important in this process, and that's to email your counselor directly and let them know that your applications have been submitted, because as counselors, we're also required to submit some supporting documents to the colleges in order to complete your application, okay? And these documents include an official high school transcript, and I know Mrs. Irwin just covered requesting the high school transcript, and that's great. All of our seniors should have a copy of those, but the colleges really want to see the transcript sent directly from the school, just to make it an official document. So that's an important piece. The secondary school report, you'll see this on a lot of applications, and all that is a summary of the student's overall academic performance, and also the rigor and the strength of their high school curriculum. Okay, and it could include letters of recommendation and also the high school transcript. The high school profile is something that's updated every year, and we will send this out to all of the campuses. And what's on the high school profile is just a snapshot of the South Glens Falls community, and it includes our average SAT and ACT test scores, as well as all of the college level, AP, and accelerated courses that we offer here at South Glens Falls. And then finally, the counselor recommendation, it says upon request, because not all colleges require this, If they do, definitely have your student supply the counselor with a letter of recommendation information sheet that Mrs. Irwin covered. And again, the link is directly in this presentation, which will be sent out. But it's very helpful for the counselor to also have that recommendation sheet so that we can refer back to it and provide a very well-rounded supporting letter of recommendation for that student. So we've covered an awful lot of information about the application process. So just as a review, the items that the student is responsible for include scheduling college visits. We know that this is difficult in the midst of this pandemic, but some colleges are actually still conducting in-person visits. So definitely reach out to admissions offices directly to schedule those in-person visits. If you do not feel comfortable with in-person visits or the college is not offering them, they are offering virtual opportunities as well. Okay, so just contact the admissions offices for that. Also, registering and sending all standardized test scores, including SATs and ACTs. Mrs. Lloyd covered that earlier. Requesting letters of recommendation is definitely part of this process. An important note here is that each college will have a different requirement and how many letters of recommendation are required. I would say that's probably my #1 question I'm being asked now by current seniors is, how many letters should I have? So we usually recommend 1 to 3 letters of recommendation, but that information is definitely provided on all of the college's websites for you. Communicating with your counselor is key. We cannot stress this enough. Please do not feel like you're bothering us. This is our job. We love this part of our job, helping students and families figure out the next step after high school. So email, we can do Google Meets. We're doing one-on-one in-person meets with students right now. So if after this presentation you would like to set up a meeting, definitely reach out to us. Adhering to deadlines. As a student, that's the #1 priority in this entire process is be aware of the deadlines and definitely adhere to them and stick with the deadlines. That's very important. And then finally, the student is in charge of submitting all of their AP scores if they choose to include them, as well as their SUNY, SUPA, and RIT transcripts. Only once a student has committed to a college, it is not necessary to submit all of those documents now. Only when the student has made a decision and committed to one school would those documents need to be sent out. So we're talking spring in that case. And then you might be asking yourself, okay, the student application has been submitted, they've communicated with the counselor, so how do colleges make their admissions decisions? And it's important to note that there are a number of factors that come into play here. So one bad test day or one bad grade in a course is not going to make or break, in this instance, a college admissions decision. So the things that they're looking for would be the rigor and the strength of their high school courses. Has your student challenged him or herself? Have they taken advantage of accelerated AP college level courses when they can? And this is not a one size fits all. We don't expect all students to take advantage of all AP and accelerated courses. It's only if it's the right fit for your student. GPA and class rank are definitely a factor. Those items will be included on the high school transcript. Leadership and extracurricular involvement. A lot of the applications have a section where the student can self-report this information. And what colleges are looking for is, how has that student been involved in their school and in their community over the 4 years of high school, and how have they demonstrated leadership? Letters of recommendation are important. It is common, like we said, to have 1 to 3 letters of recommendation. And the letter of recommendation information sheet is definitely important in that process. The college essay was touched upon earlier. I know a lot of your students are already up and running on that, so they can start to check that off their box. And then demonstrated interest. What we're seeing and hearing now from colleges, especially in the times that we're in, is they are really looking for students to show that they're interested in them. And the ways that they can do that would be emailing or calling admissions reps, participating in virtual college fairs. Maybe they've attended an in-person college fair in the past. Colleges really do keep track of all of this contact time, and they want to see that the student has shown a vested interest in them. So speaking of the virtual college fairs and virtual opportunities, right here in the Capital District, the Capital Area School Development Association has provided us and students and families with a series of virtual college and career fairs. So we have included the links and the registration and the contact points for these Zoom and virtual meetings. And we've embedded these links right into our presentation. So if you'd like to check these out and find out more about them and attend some of these, see what colleges are participating, definitely revisit this slide when we send out the presentation to you, and it's linked right in here for you. And now I will turn it over to Kathy Schnackenberg, and she will talk about financial aid and scholarships.
A big part of the college application process is applying for financial aid. We know that college is expensive, and few families can afford to pay 100% of the cost. Luckily, there are lots of resources available, but just like anything, you need to apply for them. So there's several different sources of financial aid. There are federal and state grants, and grants are free money that you do not have to pay back. That's based pretty much on families' income. There are work study grants. That would be students would work on campus and at a job for 5 to 10 hours a week and be paid for those jobs, and that helps to supplement their income while they're at school. And of course, there's scholarships. We'll talk about those in more detail in a few minutes. And finally, rounding out the sources of financial aid are loans, federal loans and private loans. You need to apply for financial aid, even if you feel you won't qualify based on your family income, if you wish to receive any sort of federal loan. So there are several documents you're going to need to gather in order to apply for financial aid. You will apply using the free application for federal student aid, known as the FAFSA. This is an electronic form. The portal actually opened up on October 1st, so you can begin to apply for financial aid now. In order to do that, you're going to create, for a student and one parent, a federal student aid ID number. So that's an electronic process that you do first, and that allows you to create a unique electronic ID that you will use to sign your financial aid application. You'll need Social Security number, driver's license number, if you have one. You'll also need your 2018 tax records, records of any untaxed income you might receive, like child support or interest income from investments. You'll need records of your assets, like your savings and checking account balances, the value of any of your investments. If you have real estate excluding your home, you'll need to have information about the value of that investment. And you'll also need with you the list of colleges you are interested in attending. So what the federal government does is it takes all this information and it generates an expected family contribution for a student. And that's the amount of money that the college expects a student and family to pay toward their college expenses. When you apply for financial aid, when you complete the FAFSA, you may be able to import your tax information directly into the FAFSA form using the IRS data retrieval tool. As long as you were able to file your 2018 taxes on time without any issues, you should be able to use that tool, which makes it very simple. You don't have to worry about transferring numbers incorrectly. It all is taken directly from your IRS information. If, when you complete the FAFSA, you list a New York State college on the FAFSA form, once you complete the federal financial aid form, you'll be directed to complete the New York State Tuition Assistance Program, TAP, application. If you plan to attend a New York State college as a New York State resident, you absolutely should complete the TAP application as well as the FAFSA application. Some colleges require the CSS profile. Some four-year private colleges require this. That asks for additional information about your assets. Many of these private four-year colleges have a lot of endowment money. They're able to give a lot of money in scholarships each year. So they dig deeper into your financial situation in order to make sure that they are distributing those monies in an equitable manner. So what should you do if your family's income has reduced significantly since 2018? If that's a big concern, especially during this time, many people have had significant reduction in income because of the pandemic. So what you should do is complete the FAFSA form with your 2018 information, and then you should contact each of the colleges to which you're applying directly to explain and document the change in income. Colleges do have the ability to assess your situation and adjust your FAFSA form if warranted, which would then reduce your expected family contribution. In our experience, financial aid offices are very welcoming places where they really do want to work with families to make college affordable. So don't hesitate to contact them if your family has experienced a reduction in income since 2018. College is still a possibility, even with all those, even with those reductions, if you contact the financial aid office in person or by email or phone. So many families have lots of questions about financial aid. We are by no means experts, although we're familiar with the process. So if you do have more questions about this process, we encourage you to attend a virtual financial aid night that will be hosted by SUNY Adirondack. That's next week. You can see the information here, and there is the link to join the Zoom meeting. They have a wealth of information about the financial aid process. They can go in much greater depth than we're able to, and I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. There are lots of state and national and local scholarships available to students. They just have to look around. So we've listed several different websites that students can use to search for scholarships. College Board, their Big Future website, we've talked about this before for career and college exploration. They also have a scholarship search function. I'd encourage you to check that out. College Board also offers opportunity scholarships to juniors and seniors every year, which are small micro scholarships given to students who complete different aspects of the college application process and can document that through the College Board. For example, students can earn a scholarship for completing the FAFSA form. So you don't need to have a certain GPA or a rank in class. You don't need to write an essay for these scholarships. You just need to participate in the steps toward college application and college admission, and then document that through the College Board using your account. Fastweb.com is a great resource for applying for scholarships. You plug in demographic information about yourself, and they will match you up with scholarships that might be of interest to you. The same is true with scholarships.com and Career One Stop. So check out all those links when we email this presentation to you. As far as local scholarships are concerned, we maintain a list of local scholarship opportunities. These are announced regularly and are posted on the school's website. They change frequently, so we encourage students to check it out on the website, to listen to the announcements. This is by no means an exhaustive list of scholarships, however. So if you're serious about looking for scholarship money, you do need to get on to fastweb.com or College Board or one of those other sites and set up a profile there. We do present scholarships at our academic awards night at the end of the year to seniors. We distributed 35 scholarships last year and plan to do the same this year. 35 scholarships to probably 50 different students. So applications are distributed to all seniors in social studies classes in the spring, and we will go into more detail with that with your student when the time comes. So we've presented a lot of information to you. It may feel overwhelming, but we are here to help with the process. So here are our email addresses. Please reach out to us by email or by phone, and we will help walk you and your student through this process. As Mrs. McGuff said, this is one of our favorite parts of our jobs, and we love to help students get where the college is the best fit for them. One final note I will say is that communication is key with us via email. That works great. Students must be aware that colleges are going to communicate with them through email as well. So, and they'll communicate with deadlines. They'll communicate with scholarship opportunities. They'll communicate if they need more information with your application. So it's really important for students to keep on top of email while they're going through this admission and financial aid process. And our final thought is the scariest moment is always just before you start. So you've already started now. Consider this your start if you haven't already, and reach out to us if you have any further questions. We hope you have a great evening.
And once again, here is our contact information. Please do not hesitate to contact us with any questions that you may have. This is, again, a very important time in a senior's career, high school career. So we expect that you will have questions throughout this whole process. And it looks like there are no questions at this time, so we will be ending the live stream. We want to thank you for watching us tonight, and we will be emailing this presentation out next week with all of the links for you to reference. Have a great night. Thank you.